I wanted to speak about like how a 29-year-old feels at some point in their life. So I have felt the most, how should I put it, the most I think I'm the most confused kid in the world, because I always felt like my favorite words my favorite word was discourage. Like I would always pray for people who would be discouraged, because I myself was always constantly discouraged about the things around me, even when the things that I need or emotional support that I want, I don't get it. I usually think of things and have to come to terms with it, so that I no longer feel disturbed by those thoughts. And most of the time growing up, I would love criticizing my own thoughts, because I can't really feel these thoughts that have come to my mind is necessarily mine. Most of the time we think that these thoughts that I have, the thoughts that I think, are the thoughts that are supposed to be, that I supposed to act on, but that's actually not the case. And whenever I have understood the whenever I understood the importance of really recollecting, calibrating, and analyzing my own thoughts, I usually end up doing much better in life. So yeah, everybody would really call me as an overthinker, but being an overthinker, or you know anyone in this world being termed or labeled a certain way in their life, I would not be attached to those you know terms, because we are not supposed to be limited by those terms. I think, at least for me, that doesn't work that way. But everybody has life's priorities, and for me, growing up in a convent, I have been in two different convents, so I don't know if other people have any kind of comparisons, because some of us have been to multiple convents, some of us have only been to a single convent, and we cannot really compare which was worse. But yeah, knowing that these are the type of experiences that have shaped your personality, you need to be with people who really don't like you. You need to be people who really you know like you, that they're really crazy about certain things, protective about you. There are certain personal boundaries that people would cross, but you end up becoming that person who is resilient about life, who is patient about life, and that kind of helped me to understand my own faith about life. I mean, who doesn't have faith? Everybody. Faith, which means trust. You really trust someone, something. You have trust. Like money, we trust in money because it feels like it has a value. So faith has been a topic that has been a continuous discussion in my own head, and my own thoughts are so much around faith. And maybe we have faith in the wrong things some of the time in our lives, and we learn that where should we focus on, what should we believe in. So I read a lot of books, not as much as other people have in the world, or more than some people have, but I think that those individuals who are the authors of those books really helped me understand that faith is something that you can really think about, and that has been their continuous thoughts throughout their journey, how they perceive the world, how they have come to terms with the world, and what actually do they bring value into the world. So I read self-help books, and at that time, more than self-help books, people would love to read novels, and novels were a very novels would take a lot of time, but self-help books would take just few days. And for me, maybe those days were, I wanted to learn a lot of things that is real in the world, so that's why I read self-help books. But yeah, there were times I wanted to escape, but for me, I don't know why, but I love to read the Bible because it has given me so much perspective about the faith that I have of God, of Jesus, of the people who really existed, and really understand the history about, because the Bible is just a library of books. So if you can't go to a library, why not have a library at your home? So that is particularly the reason why I read the Bible. But the things that have happened throughout my life, especially the choices I've made after I completed my BSc and MSc, was the choice that I decided not to get a job, or at least a government job, because I needed to figure things out of my life. I needed to clear things, have a clarity, and really understand what that job and what that job expects me of. So some people will tell you that every human being is equal, but that doesn't work that way for women. For women, you cannot be in unhygienic toilets, just because you need a job, and you might end up contracting diseases that you cannot come out of. You might have migraines because of the load of pressure that you may be able to take or not. So you don't really have a certainty about life just because you have that job. But for me, at that time in my life, seeing my parents grow old was the things that shaped me to come to those conclusions, to really understand that they are not going to be here for long, and we are not going to be here for long, and I don't want to be certain that I am going to live for long, because we never know, we could die tomorrow. But we have been living in a complete chaos for the last few years, and everything was all over the place. We wanted degree, we got the degree, we wanted to do something, but we failed at it. But as a family, do we really want to do something that we fail at? So we just came to a conclusion that we should change our lives. We are being toxic to one another, at sometimes we are so loud to one another. Maybe we should stop being that loud. But this did not come just because we decided we won't be loud to one another, we won't be toxic to one another, because toxic is kind of a word that people just throw it around. But we really did have those days where we were really chaotic. We just hated one another. I mean, we had like a resentment towards one another, but we never actually addressed those. But actually, when you come to that realization that you want to talk about it, and I did talk about my sibling, and I did talk to her about our issues, and we just ended up being that loud people around. We would just bring up the old topics and fight over those stuff that that really don't have to affect us at that very moment, but it really did, because we were emotionally so charged at one another. And now that I think about it, maybe we did make some bad choices in life. Maybe we were not good to one another, maybe we failed to understand one another, but right now what do we do about it? Was our uh, you know that's what we came to, like we had to have something kind of a mission so that we get over these traumatic experiences, because we don't want to go to another family, we don't want to be married, and we don't want to bring that old resentment towards new life. So because you have siblings, I mean most people with more than one sibling have this uh, resentment, because not every resources, not everything will be given equally, although parents want to give the best for everyone, but it doesn't have happen that way, because at that time they also did not know that they couldn't provide for everyone, but they just want to live in that illusion. So we just ended up, no, it's not your fault. I mean, to my parents, it's not their fault that they could not give. I think it's the system itself, how the government works, where the money really goes, and how values are being created. So you can have money, but you really can't have values without faith. You cannot create more value for your family, for the people around you, without having faith. So it really did help me figure out that it is going to be life from now on. The realities will be thrown at us. So when we ended up being together in a room where we had to rent and pay for bills, and you really get to see, and for a long time everybody is all over the place, no one is really with one another, but then when you come together, when you get all your degrees, you have finished your education, you don't know what else to do next, and you end up coming together, and that experience is going to be chaotic, and that's how you really start building life from there. And as a family, like, I hope that I don't become that parent who just is without any mission, or that at first you may have that mission, but then for Christian families it's really going to be like, it will be really hard for you to face your fears. And I think not just for us, but for any family, that you are not going to get away with the things that you try to do it to others, and you will have to face the consequences at some point in your life. And these the other things, that what we felt for the longest of time, that we felt for one another, the mixed emotions that you have, it's not always going to be love about siblings, it's not always going to be loving relationship between siblings and parents, but what you have got with you right now is really directed towards a vision or a mission. You need to have a vision or a mission, and for us that was building a home. We did not have the house, but then we wanted to build a home, and building a home takes time. It takes time, especially when you don't have a job, when you don't have a government job, when you don't have stability. It's really hard, but then it's not impossible, because other people have tried, they really have succeeded, and you need to see good examples, and thanks to YouTube it helped in lots of ways that we really could not do without that. Without the learning, without the journey, maybe this wouldn't have been possible. But after building the home, what happened to me individually, I just, sometimes I just felt lost, and maybe that's common, maybe that's not common, but when I talk to people, that's a growing concern. I think that not everyone feels that way, but most of us do. When we are turning 30, we feel that we are lost. We feel, what are we doing with our lives? What am I really going towards? And we end up, choosing a marriage that may or may not be happy, or we end up in having kids without any planning, without knowing the system, without knowing how the world is moving towards. We don't even know how inflation is going to hit us, because personally we want to purchase things, because it's in life you can't be someone that doesn't purchase anything. Everything comes, food, clothing, home, everything, your maintenance, personal maintenance, financial maintenance, everything is around the value of money, and the value of money really increases over a period of time. And what do you do with that? What do? You have nothing else, you just have to decide. And most of us don't really want to work in a government job anymore. What do I do with that? I think that maybe this is the time for me to understand that life is going to change in unexpected ways, but I have tried to solve my personal financial issues, because I really want to be financially independent. I've tried other things and it has worked, and it will work even if I get out of the home and try again. But the things that you do for the home, especially when you build a home, it's not the house. Building the house is easy part. That's the easy part. You just know where to get the money, get it from the bank, show them your collaterals, show them your build a valuation against your assets, and then they give you the money, and then you pay to the workers, you give them the money. That's the easy part. But talking to them, talking about the prices of materials, understanding in the back of your mind that you are not being cheated, what else, knowing that the people who are working for the first time is going to work for you the second time, and knowing the difference, that will they cheat on prices, and the ones who really do not have flexible way of working around things, you really don't want to work with them. And people who are not honest, people who don't really put their hard work into that quality of work, if they don't have the quality of work, I really don't want to work with them the second time. So I usually don't hire them anymore. But yeah, coming back to the experience of not making that mistake the second time is the hard part, because you really have to be very careful. You have to choose your words wisely. You don't want to hurt them. They don't want to, they don't want to be angered in any kind of way. So you amicably part ways of not working with one another. That's the part. But you cannot do that with your family. You have to talk to them. You have to figure things out. How do we work it around? And you have to get through tantrums. You have to address those tantrums, and most of the time that can take a lot of time out of you. You really would be exhausted, but is it worth it? I think so, because I don't want to be someone in the future regretting, why didn't I do this for my mom and dad? Because I've seen people, I've seen who are really at the highest of post, who are really, building for the society and doing for the society. For me, first home, then community. First is your family, then your community, then your state, then your nation, then the world around. So if your family unit is at least financially, emotionally, socially, physically stable, I'm not saying they are always it is going to be healthy, but if they are stable at a point that you can really manage that, then maybe at some point I have that instinct, that philosophy of feeling like I did something. So from now on I will start to build on my own concept of the world and how can I build a better life from now on. That's my priority for my 30s and 40s, that I'm going to build my life from now on. I really want to do what I can do. I no longer have to be thinking about being there all the time, because now all the things that are, you have to manage the home that you build, you have to manage the people around you, you have to manage everything that stacks up over a period of time. When you build something, that is going to be very small aspect of problems, because before that the bigger problems was with my own mind. Whenever people would say that your family is this way, you are this way, they can talk over you. The people around you can really talk over you, and you can make yourself feel depressed and small. And for a person who is stressed and always thinking about how to make my life better, that's not a easy place to be. You have got to address your own thoughts at some point in life. So for me, that was when I turned 24, and I really thought that maybe this is the time to turn my life around. And I did, because I also had a major breakdown, or a kind of say breakup. I mean, breakup as in I came to know that, I came to that realization that my parents are just individuals. They are not perfect human beings, or they will never be that perfect human beings. And for me to put them in that pedestal to really take care of me the way I want things to be taken care of, is not going to happen, because they are aging, and it would be an injustice to them if I start to think that they can do it, but they can't. I have seen them, they cannot. They have worked their whole life trying to just pay for a rent, but I need to change that. So that was my thought. For other people it's not like that, because for other people, their family, their parents are going to build for them. They are literally going to take care of them for the rest of their lives. But for me, that's not going to be the case. So I had to think about the future, the place where I can, land, the place where I can really, say, oh, I can come home, this is my home. I'm not answerable to anyone. So that freedom, that thought was the first thing that I wanted to address. So that's how we came about building a home. I mean, not particularly the house, but really a home. Other people put in their hard work to build this house, and they have put in the effort to build this house. But we as a family members needed to put effort to build this home, to call it a home. Now in my 30s, I will be entering my 30s, and I don't want to say that life is going to be fair to me. I know life is not going to be fair to me. There will be times where I will be blessed more than anyone else in the world. There would be times I would fail more than anyone in this world. But should I keep not trying? I mean, I should. That's my first instinct, and not giving up is going to be the only choice that I ever had, and it's not going to be easy. Lesson learned.